rest of the story. Vincent Gabbardi was a scratch golfer. He was not a professional, but he sure played like one. Like all fine amateur golfers, Vince dreamed of competing against the big guns in a for-real tournament. All he needed was the opportunity to show what he could do in a pressure situation. Well, such an opportunity was arising. For this was the summer of 1933. All golf enthusiasts in the Chicago area were preparing to welcome the living legends of that sport to the Western Open. That year, the tournament was to be held at Olympia Fields, a tough course, a club which boasted the world's largest clubhouse. Vince was determined that he could play in that prestigious event. And he had a plan. He would register in the Western Open as a club pro from local Evergreen Golf Club. And golfing buddies would back up his story. And it worked. It worked. Then came the day of the first round. Vince, calm, confident, his composure translated into a decent score. Next day, second round. All Vince had to do was to turn in respectable numbers, and he would make the cut. His start was more than respectable. After 5 holes, Vince was 1 under par. A good approach to the 6th green, a makeable birdie putt. Vince burned the cup, carded another par. His approach to the 7th green put him on the fringe. An easy chip up and down, might even hole out. Might even go on to win the Western Open. But this is the rest of the story. As Vince was confidently walking up to the 7th green, waving to his bride Louise, who was in the gallery, a man, apparently one of the spectators, strode up to him. The man introduced himself. He said, "I'm Frank McGillen." Vince turned pale. The two spoke briefly. Vince continued his round, but the easy chip turned into a chilly dip. 3 putts later, Vince carded a double bogey to go 1 over through 7. On the 8th hole, Vince took a staggering 11 strokes. He was that discombobulated. He did manage to get hold of himself thereafter, but too little too late to salvage the round. He shot an 86. He missed the cut. His dreams of vanquishing the likes of McDonald Smith and Tommy Armour were dead. And Vince's troubles were only beginning. For it was immediately following that disastrous second round of the Western that Frank McGillen, Police Lieutenant Frank McGillen, introduced Vince to several colleagues who all invited Vince to the Homewood Police Station, where the golfer was formally charged. One has to wonder how well Vince might have done in the 1933 Western Open had Chicago's chief of detectives, Joseph Shoemaker, himself a golfer, had he not read the first round standings in the Morning Tribune and recognized the mostly unknown name, Vincent Gabbardi, as the real name of Al Capone's ace executioner, the architect of the infamous St. Valentine's Day Massacre, public enemy number 5, a par shooter feared far and wide as Machine Gun Jack McGurn. And now you know the rest of the story.